Hello and welcome to another episode of the Socially Numb Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Leahey. Last week I talked about Assassin's Creed, and I teased that I was going to talk about Revelations, the fourth game in the series. I'm only talking about the main series. If there's mobile versions of the game, not talking about them. But I was able to beat Revelations. I was on the last chapter, and I teased a little bit about it last week. If you're playing through the game, the last chapter usually is what the creator called a wrapper, and it means it wraps up the main story, and it also brings you into present day. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to affect the future stories about the games, because I said I played Freedom Cry. There was none of this type of modern day story tied in. You were basically right in the mix of the pirate days. The Chronicles, same thing. You're just jumping right back in time and you're playing through a little bit of the story. Now, I understand that if they wanted to wrap this story up with the Ezio trilogy, they didn't really wrap it up. I don't know what's going to happen in Assassin's Creed 3. I haven't started that game yet because I have another handful of games that I want to wrap up first on the PlayStation 3. Because I teased a little bit about last week trying to get some extra streaming going. I don't know if I'm ever going to stream the PlayStation 3. It's easier for me just to get the camera for the PlayStation 4 and start streaming some of those games. So I've been stacking up on some of the free games to dive into that. And that's going to be underway soon. I started to do some tests on the Philips CDI. I think I mentioned that before. I played Link Faces of Evil, which is a non-Nintendo Zelda game. So if you follow that, if you want to get on Twitch, it's the same as my Twitter name, Richie Leahey. Subscribe to me there, or just tune in and watch whenever I go live. I'm going to try to tweet it out. It doesn't matter to me if you're a subscriber or not, but tell your friends if you want to subscribe. I would appreciate it. Go ahead and do that. And so I've been trying to wrap up some PlayStation 3 games just because they don't have the capability built in. I would need a broadcast receiver, which I'm planning on getting. But right now I currently don't have one. So the broadcast device is basically a capture card. Now, Twitch just plays whatever is sent to their server. So you have an access key, and that's tied to your profile. And that will go ahead and take whatever is sent to that capture key and display it on your profile. So the PlayStation 4 has that built in. They're able to connect with the key and stream directly your gameplay, if you have an internet connection, to the site. Now, they're also supposed to be able to take an extra camera, the PlayStation camera, and add that to your feed. So right now, I don't know if you can use a regular USB camera. If so, then I can go ahead and start doing that sooner rather than later. I just don't have the PlayStation camera. So I'm hoping to test that this week. If I get that tested, then I can go ahead and start to stream some games more often. What I would like to do, instead of just playing a free game a week, I would like to stream me beating the game and giving extra commentary on top of it. Then I'll do a recap on the podcast. But if you want my full-fledged feelings on the game or want to see what it's like, because some of these are free PlayStation games now, I've been building them up because they usually only release 1 or 2 a month. So I haven't been playing them as I've been playing my PlayStation 3 games getting ready to do this. I wanted to have some, so if I did beat one a week, some of them are relatively short. Some of them I've already started, like the Day of the Tentacle, I think is what it's called. I started that one, and there's one other one. It's like a mobile Ninja DX or something like that has been extremely tough. So I'm assuming whenever I stream that one, I'm going to die 100 times. And there's another one that I've been dying on, Hyper Void, maybe? I think it is Hyper Void. That one is going to be one that I can test stream on. And it's kind of like my original stream of Link Faces of Evil, where I'm playing a game, showing over and over how tough it is or how hard it is. Talk about it. If it's an easy game, I'll give my commentary on it. There was one that I played, I talked about early on in this podcast, called Journey, where it was basically just a slow walk through this video game environment. And there was another one that I played on the PlayStation 3 that was similar. I wasn't big fans of either of those. Well, PlayStation 4 just went ahead and put one out that is called Abzu, I think, or something like that. And you're swimming in the ocean. So those are ones that I'm going to be playing. And like I said, if I can get everything working with a camera on the PlayStation 4, I'll be streaming more often. If not, it will have to be a little bit of Steam games first off the bat. Then what will happen, I'm going to work through and keep eating my PS3 games. If a sponsorship does come through, I might stream some of those. So I'm kind of beating ones that I've already half beaten. I have Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2, I think. Sigma 1 and 2, which I've beaten most of. I just haven't finished them off because another game comes up or whatever. So I'm going to finish those up next. I just finished up Resident Evil 5. That was another one of the ones. I was actually on the last chapter, which I'm going to get into in the second half of this podcast. And before that, I finished Assassin's Creed Revelations, which is the fourth game and the third and final part of the Ezio trilogy, which I started talking about a little bit. And that's going to be the first half of this podcast, like I teased last week. I'm going to talk about Assassin's Creed, and then I'm going to go ahead and move into Resident Evil 5. So another episode with double video game talk. And that's going to be it for this week, as I'm getting back in, haven't been traveling, probably won't be traveling for another month or so. So I should be at the studio or around. I'm still testing out with some mobile recording just because it's easier and more flexible that way. And I'm trying to get the best quality possible. So I'm still using that instead of going through my computer. So it's giving me a higher bit rate. I always go ahead and convert it down anyway to make the files smaller just for server speed, and you really can't tell a difference if it's only audio. It's not like I'm encoding a bunch of different instruments on top of each other. So that's what we'll be doing, or that's what I'll be doing in the future here, getting ready for the summer months. Normally I play a little bit over the summer. If it's rainy days, I definitely play video games. More so in the winter when you're stuck inside. For the most part, a lot of stuff I am out and about. That's why it's good to have the mobile recording ready to go so that we don't fall behind any episodes and we can get everything out. So this time, Revelations. Now last week, I had already started playing Revelations, so some of my story little tidbits might have been mistaken across the games, but I'm going to start off. I know that this part of the gameplay was only in Revelations, and that is there was a tower defense. So it's basically, I don't know how to describe it, but in Brotherhood, I told you last week that they added in the extra tidbit to the game where you recruited assassins to your team. And basically what that meant was there was a thing that showed up on your map, and that thing was a conflict. You would go, and it would be an assassin or basically a thief or someone getting confronted by guards. If you helped them fight off the guards, then you could talk them into joining your Brotherhood. What that meant was they joined your team, and if you were in the middle of like a big fight or you were trying to do some stealth stuff, you could just press, I think it was L2, and that button would go ahead and call them. And then they would swoop in, take out the enemies for you, so you wouldn't have to redundantly fight over and over to progress the story. So I like that element, because the first game, like I talked, that was one of my biggest knocks on it, was that I was fighting and hiding all the time, trying to get the ticker down. Well, the second game improved on that. They let you take down the wanted posters. Now, in these newer games, I don't know if 2 had it or not, but you can bribe heralds too. So you can pay money to basically those guys that preach on the streets, and then they help your things go down. There was also one other one that was kind of annoying, and that was the guy who ran. Like you can kill a guard. Well, yeah, I think it was two different ones. So one was you could kill a guard, and that guard would go ahead and knock you down. And if you killed that guy, he was always surrounded by other guys, but that would knock your wanted level down the most. Now, the second guy, now that I think about it, the guy that runs away is a guy, and I think it's only in Revelations, they have hidden assassins on the other team, that if you're walking through a crowd, a guy would just come up and stab you, take down about half your health, and then he runs away and you can chase after him and kill him. I don't think it does anything for your level, but it was kind of like an annoying feature that they added. Yeah, I guess it makes up for some of the ease of the game that you have by having brothers in your brotherhood that can go ahead and assassinate people, and those still carried over to the game. But it was just something annoying because you really couldn't tell that it was going to happen, and it would just happen out of the blue at like the most inconvenient times. One time I was walking and you had to trail a guy without being noticed, so I'm standing hidden in a group of people and I just get stabbed. So whenever I get stabbed like that, you know that that's going to be no reason, no fault of my own, that it fails the level. Then I have to kind of go back in, and he doesn't show up the second time. Same exact spot. I wait, and I'm like, oh, here he comes again. If he comes again, I'm going to be mad. But at least I'll know not to hide in this spot. But he never came. So it was like a fluke one. Maybe it was a glitch. I don't know. But that's an annoying thing. There's also a guy, or there's also things where you can, like people that are stealing, you can actually be a good guy and chase them down. And I guess you can kill them. I don't know. But there's other little mini games that are added in. And one of them is like a treasure map, which the other games, maybe Brotherhood had. I don't know if 2 had it. I don't think 2 did because of the feathers. But you could find maps that shows you where the money is. And so with Revelations, what I did was I bought those first. And as I would beat each district, I would pick up the extra money and then unlock all the stores. I didn't totally unlock all the stores, but just enough that I was able to buy the crossbow and upgraded armor early on, and then it makes the rest of the game a lot easier. Now, the other feature that I talked about, or I mentioned there a little bit ago, was the tower defense. I absolutely hated this part of the game, and I only actually did it twice. The tutorial, and then I tried it one other time, and it was an extreme waste of time. So basically in the game, and I don't know which game these were added into, but there are Templar towers. And what the towers do is it controls a part of the district. So you go in, you have to assassinate the Templar guy that's in charge, and then you would light a fire in the tower, letting everyone know that it's an assassin tower now. Now in the last game, I think this might have been introduced in Brotherhood. Once you claimed it, that was it. You owned it, and you owned that section of the map. Well, this game they tried to introduce a tower defense, where the Templars could come back and attack your tower, and it would show up as on fire on the map. Well, you can go back and defend it. And what that meant is you would be in a street view, and you would buy barricades, and you would buy archers and defense. You'd basically, kind of like a mini game where you're defending your tower in the middle of the street. If you lost, then the Templar leader would come back and you would have to assassinate him again and light the tower on fire. If you won, then I think you still own the district. I don't know. I only played one and I lost, and it was an extreme waste of time. It took like 15 minutes. And I thought, holy crap, these take 15 minutes. I have like 3 towers on fire. I'm just going to let them roll on fire. And I actually, to be honest, I don't think I lost any of them. Once they were on fire, it kind of just said, hey, this is being attacked by Templar rule, like if I tried to buy something. But at that point, I had enough money from doing the maps that I had already unlocked everything. So there was really no point of me trying to do these tower defenses. So I recommend doing that. Every time you unlock a district, buy the bank, buy everything that you can in that district, find all the money, and then if it comes under attack, let it go under attack. It doesn't matter. Because at least in my game, I might have just been a fluke that I never hit one that they won back, but I was able to buy stuff, no problem. So I think once it were unlocked, I think maybe you could only lose it if you went into battle and lost. But to me, I know they're trying to add different elements to the game. And I mean, I guess it would be something cool if it had more control, or if it was a bigger part of the game, or maybe it was introduced in the first game. But since it's already the fourth game and they introduced it, and I played Freedom Cry and that wasn't a part of it, I figure it's a one-off where it's only in this game. I could be wrong. It might be in number 3. I don't know. I haven't played that one yet. Because after I played Freedom Cry, I started Unity. I decided to go back and beat them in order. So I haven't touched Unity since. So I don't know if it was in that game. I had only played the intro. Because I got that game really cheap. I think like $8 or $9 new on Amazon. Before I went and got the rest of them as Christmas gifts. So I'm playing through Revelations. The whole basic thing, and I ended the podcast about it last time, was I wanted to find out what happened with Lucy. As far as I know, and I haven't watched any of the extra things on YouTube yet because I missed unlocking something, they never mention her in this game. Maybe they did. Maybe I missed it. I know they talked about having someone being like on the other team, but basically you start in the wrapper, and you're kind of like on an island with another guy who said that he died inside the machine and his memory is living in there to protect Desmond, basically the main guy, again, in current time. So he's on this island kind of stuck in the Animus. And like I said, maybe he did kill them. Maybe he didn't only kill Lucy. Maybe he killed the rest. I don't know. And he got trapped in there because there's no one outside to pull him out. So he's trapped inside the machine. But I really don't know. All I know is there's 5 mirrors. And they added an extra element to the game. And this is what the bonus content is, too. I was very disappointed. I think it came with the game. I don't think I paid extra money for it. Because I normally don't do that. I think because I bought the set that it came with the DLC. I could be wrong. You might have to look online because they have re-released this like 2 or 3 times. I think I did get the downloadable codes in the game. And what this mode is, it's a first-person mode, like a shooter, but it's kind of like, it's like Minecraft, where you're just placing blocks, and those blocks let you like walk across different worlds. No enemies, that's basically all it is. It's a walking story. Every so often, they'll like put a little line up as you're going in the right way, something about the story. Well, that story didn't really tell me anything that I wanted to know. I wasn't interested in it at all. And I don't know, maybe other people were interested in that part of the story, but it seemed like I said last week, I think I mentioned that it feels like they were just making things up as they went. And here's another thing that makes me feel that way. It seems like this Animus part where you're lost, you're Desmond, you're trapped in the machine. It seems like it's a demo game that someone makes when they're applying for a job, or maybe like a degree, trying to get a degree. You need a project, a research project, and they're like, well, I'm going to go ahead and do 3D modeling, and I'm going to do this puzzle game where you're basically building a bridge across different levels, up and down, because you had like 2 or 3 different options. One of them was like a jumpy, you could jump high. One of them was a straight blocks like a bridge, and the other one was like a ramp. And so they go ahead and build it, and Ubisoft was like, hey, these look good. Let's go ahead and throw them at the beginning of the game to make the game longer. Because there's 5 levels, plus there's 7 chapters in the bonus downloads that are all of this, where it's just telling the story in text as you walk through. It's kind of like, I think it's like some of the older scenes. Like I think one of the levels was the assassin hideout from the first game. Maybe it was Ezio's hideout, I don't remember. But like that was one of them, but it wasn't really that. It was kind of just like a fake flat 3D model of it. But to me, it just seemed like a big time waste. I went ahead and just played through those before I actually played the game, because I thought they were going to tell me what happened to Lucy. So I thought, oh, this will be cool. I can go ahead and find out what happened in the story, because you're on an island and there's 5 mirrors. So it's like, do you want to play part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And if you go in the other mirror, it takes you to the historical story, which is Ezio's 3rd part. Now, I played through the first person mode, complete waste of time. in my opinion. Some people might have liked it. The story didn't add up. Like I said, it felt like they didn't plan out the story. So they just went ahead and were like, okay, let's throw something out there. Does this work? Does this work? People are nodding in their heads in agreement. Yeah, like this works. Let's go ahead and do that. And then that's all they did. They just agreed and they threw it out there. And then they were like, well, how are we going to end Ezio's story? Now, I will say that the start of this game, I felt, was the sharpest of them and had the best physics and had the best graphics, which makes the most sense because it's the fourth game. And maybe they're trying to churn these out. I think they had one come out every year. I could be wrong. So maybe they already had the engine. They had the story. They threw that wrapper part on at the beginning where you're going through first-person block building mode. And just to make the gameplay longer, because they probably counted those 5 levels as hours played through the gameplay. And they were like, all right, we hit our 15 hours or whatever the other ones are with this, even though it's really only 10 hours or so of Ezio's story. And it was a really separate thing for me because that's how I played through the game. I thought, well, let's see if we find anything else more about Desmond. But I don't think you do. I think they're completely separate. You have the Desmond thing at the beginning. You play through those 5. And then I think the last chapter that I just beat, I played the Last Archive last. The Lost Archive, because I didn't realize it was another first-person block building moment. That's the very last thing I did right before I did this podcast. So I'm not really sure what was the end of the game and what was part of that. In my memory, I had to have to go back through and look. But I do know that, to my knowledge, they didn't say anything about Lucy. They did take your guy Ezio. He does acknowledge that he knows that Desmond's there because people keep talking to him. Another one of those god guys show up, and they're kind of talking about the destruction of the world and how they're making a new one, and they're leaving the artifacts, whatever. The same kind of things that they've talked about before. But there's no really conclusion. Nothing happens with Lucy and them, to my knowledge, that it showed. So I'm thinking that wrapper story is going to be wrapped up in Assassin's Creed 3. My theory behind that, and I know these are already out, so you might already know, but because I played the add-on for Assassin's Creed 4, Freedom Cry, and they didn't mention it at all, I'm thinking that they wrapped it up in 3. So I'm hoping that they do. Very disappointed in the story. It hooks me in and then no conclusion, and I think that's why video games get a bad rap for bad storytelling. Because this is a AAA major title that people outside video games, some people buy video game consoles just to play this game, or they only play this game on their computer. And if they're playing this and they're like, well, this is the best that they have to offer, maybe I'll go ahead and buy an Xbox, play through Halo, maybe Uncharted, which Uncharted had an okay story. I haven't played the last one, which is supposedly the best one, Uncharted 4, yet. That's another one that I'm going to try to dive into soon. But with that, I don't know about the rest. So I don't know what other games would give you a great story as you play through them that would make you think this is better than watching TV, or this is better than watching a movie. And that's why video games get a bad rap by the media critics, because they don't see the point of doing redundant tasks over and over again. Climbing buildings, using your eagle vision. They did change up the buttons a little bit, which was kind of annoying. I hope that they kept them the same, because you learn a while what was eagle vision, triangle, or one of the L buttons. Now it's L3, you have to press it down to do it. And it's just, you're used to it from playing through the other games relatively quickly. I mean, I've been playing through them, most of them this year. I think I beat the first one at the end of last year. There was no trophy, so I don't know. I can't check when I played through it and when I beat it. The trophies give you a good thing because I think you can go online and look and see what date you unlocked them. And that would kind of give me a timeline, but I think I beat the rest of them within the at least past couple months. I've been playing kind of in order. So it kind of gives you a familiarity with the controls, and then whenever they mix them up, It's kind of frustrating, especially in the same trilogy. I mean, there wasn't like they added so many other weapons. I think they changed the crossbow buttons too, because I couldn't figure that out for Revelations. And they had, for the most part, same deal. You're in Italy. They did take you to a cave level, but other than running and getting a few things there, I really didn't see the point of that. It did help me finish up the level, and overall, the game, I mean, like if you were starting in one of them, I would recommend playing through the whole trilogy. If you bought Revelations as an add-on, you'd be confused as shit, and you would not be into it. I think that's why they bundle them now. And I really hope, because I got a Nintendo Switch and I'm waiting for an Assassin's Creed, there have been rumors that there's going to be a special Assassin's Creed just for the Nintendo Switch, which is great. And one of the reasons why I would like to get a streaming box, if possible, because that gives me another avenue to go ahead and stream a game that I would assume most people won't have, just because Switch consoles themselves were low on quantity at launch, and most people don't stream Nintendo games. It's either computer games most likely, and then a couple PlayStation games, I'd assume, or Xbox games, like first-person shooting games. But I would hope that they would go ahead and release that. And I hope that they don't go ahead and just start re-releasing old games, because I could see them doing that. What they could do, and I would be cool with that, is if they re-released the mobile ones, like in a mobile pack, where it was like, because if Nintendo Switch is supposed to be the new handheld, and it's going to be running similar to the 3DS or the DS, they made some games like that. They could go ahead and take the second screen and make it a map or something in the corner of the game and re-release those. I know there was a Vita game, which would be perfect to re-release on the Switch. I would assume most people don't have it. And that's saying that they're actual good games. I don't know. They could be garbage games that were just thrown together to try to sell based on the name of the franchise. But I would be cool if they tried to do something like that, and I would check them out for that. I wouldn't check them out on the DS, and I wouldn't check it out on the Vita. But as a user and fan of the series, I would much rather have that than them release an Ezio trilogy on the Nintendo Switch and then wonder why people aren't buying it. Because I know a lot of people who have switched, ironic that that's the name of the console, from PlayStation or Xbox to get a Nintendo Switch, just because it's much easier to play on the go. And the portability of it's nice. You can play on your commute. You can play on your lunch break at work. You can play between classes if you're in college. If you're in high school, you can take it on the road trips. Like, let's say you're an athlete, you're going on a bus trip to somewhere, you can play for an hour or two before a game, after a game. There's just a lot of flexibility that you don't have with the Xbox or the PS4. Are the graphics the greatest? No. Do they need to be? Also, no, I don't think so. Most people don't have 4K TVs. So when PlayStation and them are releasing these 4K things, I have a 4K TV, and not even like 4K cameras and stuff, they barely play on the TV. So I know television doesn't come across in 4K. Maybe some of the Netflix stuff, but like if the PlayStation doesn't support it and I'm streaming through PlayStation, is it in 4K? Probably not. Is the apps barely work inside the 4K TV because there's not that much memory. You can't tell me that those same apps then are going to be sending me 4K data. They're not. So isn't Nintendo, are they that far behind? No. I could see them in 2 years like they did with the DS, where because they're selling docks separately, and the dock, I assume, is going to go ahead and be the same. They can keep the Switch the same size and put a new processor in every 2 years and increase it. Think of even cell phones. If you look at the iPhones, a new one comes out every year, or at least a new upgraded, faster model. They could do that with the Switch. And as a consumer, I wouldn't be disappointed, especially buying one early. And I think it would help Nintendo over the other consoles, where other consoles, they need a complete rewrite. If Nintendo put this out like a tablet, they didn't even have to increase the name or like put a number on it or anything. just like the Nintendo Switch. And then you have like a new model, the faster model, whatever you get, that's the newer model. If you have one, they could even put it by year, 2017 model, 2018, whatever they wanted to do, just to let you know that it has a faster processor. And before you know it, as batteries increase too, because it's cell phone batteries, so Nintendo they are able to take advantage of mobile device technology. Cell phone batteries, tablet processors, cell phone processors, where the PlayStation and the Xbox, they're trying to use computer technologies, which there's really nowhere to go. Unless you're playing video games, there's no need for a faster computer. I could stream 8 football games at a time on a computer 4 years ago. There's no other reason besides video games where you would need something that has that much processing power. Maybe if you're streaming 4K games, but they don't even stream in 4K. Like I said, on your computer. I think most of them are like standard definition or whatever. I don't know. But if I could stream 8 games 4 years ago on an old computer that I bought at Walmart, it was an old Gateway computer that I bought at Walmart for like $200, and it could handle 8 streaming football games. There's no reason to think that I need to upgrade my computer like these video game consoles are upgrading, because most games aren't going to take advantage of it. So here's the Switch. That's the only knock people have, is that the resolution and stuff, it can't run these games. These games are too intensive. All they have to do is scale back the graphics. The engines are the same. The only thing that is keeping them back are the graphics. And they can easily scale that back and do a point. To be honest, I think a lot of video game engines right now handle that internally. You can scale them back just because of the tablets and stuff. Because if you're going to make a game, they want you to build once, deploy multiple times from that same build. So you can go ahead and create one and know that, okay, I can have higher graphics, higher processing power for an iPad version. And then here, let's just scale back the graphics. We'll use a different set of sprites. It's actually easier to draw them, lower quality. I think most of them you can even convert. You can convert images to lower quality, compress them. You can probably convert 3D models and then go ahead and put it on there. And then you have a game like Zelda, which looks great. It's like cell shaded. You might have to have whatever. Maybe Nintendo works with Unity or Unreal Engine, whatever, all these big engines they're supporting these days, and just goes ahead and builds them a compressor model that compresses these first-party games into graphics that are able to run on the Switch. If Nintendo invested time to do that, there would be no reason why these games couldn't run. Yeah, maybe some of the ones that really push the boundaries, like an open world game, but Zelda worked as an open world game. What other open world games were that big? I think someone said if you walked the whole way around the outside of the map, it would take hours to complete on Zelda. I don't know any other games that are big like that. The Witcher games, maybe. They're probably just as big, if not bigger. But then they also have the heavier graphics, and that's where the processing power comes from. I'm playing through the first Witcher, which will probably be one of the games I end up streaming on Twitch as I try to beat that game. I think I'm still in the first chapter. I just haven't had time or the want to sit down and play on a computer hunched over. I like to relax on a couch when I play. That's why I like the controller. That's why I like the console. But if I'm doing Twitch stuff, that will give me some cause to go back in and dive into some of these laptop games. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, the next Assassin's Creed can go ahead and be on the Switch. If it's not the newest one, that's fine, because I own a PS4, and I still have 2 Assassin's Creeds on the PS4 to beat. So if it comes out this fall, hopefully, if things go well, I'm under 20 games on the PS3. 4 of them are Assassin's Creed games. 3 are Dooms, which are halfway done. They're almost all done, to be honest. I have Ninja Gaiden. I have 2 of those, which are almost beaten. So I have 5 games right there that are almost beaten. That gets me down to 10 games. Some of the other games are like Batman. I got it. It was overhyped. But I can't take that shoulder camera. And so I never really played it. And I had some other games like that. But the Batman game, that will give me a segue into Resident Evil 5. All right, got caught in the rain. So I'm going to have to record the Resident Evil part here in a second. But first, I've been using the portable recorder to try to get just some more experience with it and trying to get a better sound. And so I apologize if there's some popping and stuff on the last couple of podcasts, or at least segments that I've recorded. I'm trying to get those taken care of so that this gives me some more flexibility. That way my studio time is going to be some video game streaming time, which was why I wasn't going to do it before. And then I came back around when I got the portable recorder. I think this will give me some more content, and then you guys can have more things to listen to. You can either stream it or go on YouTube, whatever. I'm going to be putting these back up on YouTube, I believe, the audio only, and just notate that they're audio only, and trying to get those up now that the Socially Numb channel is defunct, and I'm moving everything into a centralized location. There is a possibility that I could bring back the Socially Numb, at least a website just for show notes, but I don't know if I'm going to archive that or not. Right now, it's probably just going to live on my site, and that would just be the name of my shows, and maybe I can tie Socially Numb sometime or somehow into Twitch. But back to Resident Evil. So Resident Evil, I think I talked about on the podcast before. My biggest beef with it is the camera angle. Now, I'm going to go way back here. And I want to say that for the GameCube, I think I told the story before, me and my brother both had PlayStation 2s. So I traded mine in for a GameCube when it came out because it was cheaper, and I figured we could still share games growing up and stuff. So I get that. And one of my most loved games for the GameCube was Resident Evil 4. And I want to say I got that when it came out, which is probably, wow, how long ago? At least 12 years maybe? At least a decade. Because it came out before, I think I was in college. I can't remember. But it's been a while. And I remember loving the game. And I remember the slow movements and just the pace. And I think it had the same over-the-shoulder camera. But back in those days, you were used to that. You were used to weird camera angles and weird graphics. And now we're kind of spoiled. We're used to high-def graphics, responsive controls, everything tight, everything built with the same couple game engines that have all sorts of bugs worked out already. So you're basically just doing some 3D modeling and trying to tell some stories. And, well, I get Resident Evil 5. I go to play it a while ago, and I can't get into it. The controls are awful. They're horrendous, and there's no reason they should be this bad. It's almost like it would be better if I was playing on an arcade box, mashing 4 buttons and using a joystick. That's how bad these controls are. Your guy has to run with X. It should be one of the shoulder buttons. Aiming's kind of weird. Shooting's kind of weird. Everything all together, the whole package is disappointing. And so I want to play this game to get through the story, and everything, it just fails on so many levels for me. I remember it being super hyped up, and everyone saying that it lived up to the hype, but I couldn't get into it. And so I've been slowly beating a chapter at a time. Chapter here, chapter there, because I can't get into the controls. I don't like the over-the-shoulder view, which now, as I was doing some notes to get ready for the podcast review of it, I see that I could have played over the left shoulder, I think, if I was Shiva. I played as Chris just because I just picked a guy. Not as like a guy, a male character. I just picked the number one person in the game, which was Chris. And I think he was kind of tied into an older story of Resident Evil. But I start playing, and I can't get over the weird shoulder view. It's awkward for me as a left-handed player. I would like to look over the other shoulder. And I'm sure if a right-handed player plays as Shiva, if that is true, if she is over the left shoulder, I'm sure they're going to be awkward too. Because I know I was. And that was one of my biggest beefs with the game, were the controls and the camera angles. And so that's where I wanted to focus. I wanted the focus to go ahead and be on the actual game. So the controls and my bias aside, I could not stand it, but let's look at the game. The game overall is okay. I like the co-op part. There's not that many couch co-op games. So for the fact that there's a co-op level, and I don't know if you can play 2 players, it might be internet only, so it might not count as a couch co-op game. But I like the fact that here I was struggling with the aiming because I couldn't get used to the weird over-the-shoulder camera. Someone was able to jump in that has played the game before, because I'm playing it now. This game has been out for years. And there are still people that play online, because I met people. I don't have a microphone that works. I think it's Bluetooth only. I don't have one of those. Everything I do is wired. So I have people talking to me, giving me tips while I'm playing. I can't correspond with them, but that's okay. And I'm not the best at the game, because I have trouble recording, or not recording. I have trouble shooting and aiming. After a while, I get into it. I start to get pretty good. Well, I realized some tips and tricks, and here I am trying to beat it. Playing along with some people is awesome, because whenever you're doing a boss battle, it's nice to have someone that can actually aim. If you play, because there's 2 characters in the whole story. So what I found out was, if you get stuck playing with another human online, just go ahead and quit for the night and come back in and play by yourself. My biggest one, the parts of the game that made it easier to play solo, were the timing, the button timing story modes, where it's like hurry up and hit box, hit L1, R1 at the same time. And so those timing story parts, perfect to play by yourself. If you're playing with someone online and they mess up, you have to redo the whole thing over again. And maybe you're not the one messing up. But one time I played with someone, they missed it 5 times in a row, so I had to quit, because I'm like, I can't keep doing a timing one if you're going to miss it. Like, you were great, help me beat the boss, but I can't go ahead and wait. I don't want to wait for you to get this right. So I quit, do it. Of course, I get it on the first time. This is in the middle of the game, too. I forget who I was playing with. But they did great. I had fun playing with them. They were great. They were able to talk me through different parts. But when you can't get the sequence, and I know it's you messing up because it shows you the other person's name, and so that you know that they're the ones that are going to go ahead and do the timing story part, well, it just doesn't make sense. Now, when you're looking at parts of the multiplayer that actually work, it's whenever you're fighting against a boss character. So whenever you're playing single player, those timing ones, it's absolutely essential that you're either playing with someone that knows how to do them. Even me, who have never played through the game before, I'm playing with people who are stocked up, unlimited ammo, have all the unlocked things, and they're the ones that are missing it. So here I am bringing you down for most of the game, and we get to a critical button mash thing, and you're the one making the mistakes. So just adding time on. So whenever I say that the part of the game that's actually fun multiplayer online, it's fighting the bosses. Because the computer, your teammate, is absolutely worthless. They are garbage. They stand around, you have to kind of tell them what to do. So I don't want to play any spoilers. But one of the last levels that I just beat was on an oil tanker, I believe. You're playing on an oil tanker, and the tanker has some type of squid or whatever. Actually, there's one in the middle that's similar too. The first one, you have to machine gun parts of it, and then the other ship, or the other side of the ship, has another gun. It's more like a rocket launcher that you can use to explode. Well, your teammate just kind of stands around when you're playing with the computer and does absolutely nothing. So you have to kind of tell them, you have to run to the first gun, tell them, here, take this gun and shoot it. And then you run over, and by the time you get to there, they're sideswiping you with their octopus legs or something. Frustrating. So if there were no people online, it would have took forever to beat the game because the computer sucks. I would have been bribing people to come over, and I don't even know if there's local multiplayer. Like, hey, come over and help me, because I can at least tell another human what to do. And that's why people think these chat bots are going to be a good idea. Yeah, because we've only been making video games for 20 years, and we can't even get the guys to actually help you. It's basically, you have to tell them exactly what to do, because otherwise they act like complete morons. And then at the end, so here's another one. So I'm pretty sure this one's in the last chapter, because that's where I left off whenever I did last week's podcast. I was just ready to play this one before I recorded that last week, or this past week, whatever. I'm playing, and it's one of the other things. It's kind of similar. you're fighting like another octopus guy. I think pretty much all the bigger zombies are some sort of octopus, squid, intestines breaching out of the person and fighting out to become some type of tentacle-wielding squid thing. And you're playing on another boat, I think, or it's a ship. They're trying to take the ship down. So you're with your partner, and they are supposed to be shooting these squid things they spit out. And as the main guy, my job is to there's a rocket launcher. So I break the rocket launcher, whatever. I use a card swiper. I'm not sure how you get it. I think it's a rocket launcher. No, it's a satellite laser or something they say. So you lock on, and then the satellite beams a laser down through the thing and explodes these little balls. Well, if you're trying to help your partner, and you're like, well, let's let the computer do that, and I can kill the local things that show up on the ship and try to like stabilize it. My partner did not lock on once when I tried that strategy. They kept yelling, hey, I can't seem to get a shot. I can't seem to get a shot. Nothing. Completely worthless. So then I'm like, well, fine, I'll just take it, whatever. So I'm fighting. I'm using like the satellite squad on. I'm getting hit by things on the deck. My partner's supposed to be killing them. I'm giving them all the ammo I have because I'm using the satellite gun. I don't need any ammo. And they're still not shooting. They're just following me around, not doing anything. So it's very frustrating whenever you're trying to play a co-op game with the computer and the AI is an idiot. Luckily, there's online multiplayer for this game, and I was able to go ahead and get that. So I got the multiplayer. Someone joined my team after a few frustrating tries. I tried it at night, so I beat this. I'm recording this on Monday or Sunday night and a little bit Monday morning. But I think it was Saturday night. I'm playing Resident Evil 5. I get to that squid boat level again, and I'm thinking I'm not going to beat this game in time to record the podcast. I figured I would because I was on the last chapter last week, and I teased it, and now I'm going to come and I'm going to have to tell people I couldn't beat it because the computer's just not helping me. Well, luckily, no one was joining my party either on Saturday night, and I thought I took too long because when did I start this game? A few months ago or in the fall last year, I had started this game. There were abundance players online. Abundance of players, whatever. That doesn't make sense, but there are a lot of players online. And on Saturday night, here I am in the last level. I'd think people would want to try to beat the game. Maybe people were just jumping in at the beginning and playing a little bit, and then that's it. Because that's how a lot of NES games, if you're brought up on NES, that's how you played. That's how you're used to playing. You just jump into the game, and that's it. Well, here I am at whatever. It's Saturday night. I'm at the last level. No one joins. I can't beat it with the computer. I'm like, I'm going to go to bed. I'll tackle this Sunday morning. So I go ahead, and I sign on, and I'm fighting. And luckily, this is where the guy comes in. He is on speaker, so I can hear him talking, basically telling me what to do. I go on their side, whatever. Fight this guy. Pretty easy battle because we're on the same page. Even though I don't have a mic to communicate with him, we're on the same page. He's telling me what to do. I know exactly what to do. If I had a mic, I could kind of go back and forth and plan it out, but I don't need to strategize because I'm just playing the game. And I think I'm playing on normal. I don't think it was easy. I don't even know what the levels are. I think it was normal. Normally, most of the time when I play through these games, I play through on normal. And so there's one, well, the Ninja Gaiden series are the ones where I'm not 100% sure how to or what level I'm on because the difficulty is so different and drastic. But those are what I'm trying to finish up now. It's another series that I had already started. And so I'll get into that in a later podcast. But for Resident Evil, I'm pretty sure I'm playing on normal. So it's not like it's that hard, but the computer should at least be semi-competent. That, hey, all right, if you're going to go ahead and kill the boss, I'll shoot the squid guys that appear on the deck so that they don't grab you and trap you and kill your life while you're trying to lock on to this beast. And, of course, they could also be shooting the tentacles, making the things stop moving, but they're not doing anything. So, luckily, I found a guy. He had obviously beat the game multiple times. He had unlocked all the ammo and everything. So, he's telling me, playing through him, we did hit a rut where there's, like, after you fight the main boss human guy before he turns into his squid thing, there's one of those timing things, which of course we mess up. I messed up twice. This guy messed up twice. So it wasn't all me, or it wasn't all them. But it's still frustrating. You're playing online. I'm not sure what to expect. Luckily, you can skip, which I didn't realize for the rest of the beginning of the game when I played through. Luckily, you can go ahead and skip these timing things, and it kind of takes you right to where the button hits are going to happen. So after you fail the first time, you make it all the way through, and you mess up on the last one. I'm supposed to grab the chick. And the button, like some of the combos that show up are just weird. Like box and triangle or circle, triangle, whatever they are. I understand like the double click on the shoulder buttons. But when you're trying to make me do like a mental gymnastics on which of the two buttons to hit. It's not a fighting game where I memorize what happens. So it's frustrating, but we got it taken care of. And it wasn't to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to quit. I'm not that big of an idiot. This guy had unlimited ammo. I've been low on ammo for the last couple of chapters because I had to play solo for a little bit, not finding anyone online. And all you're able to buy in the store are, what is that gun? It's like a rocket launcher, a grenade launcher. You can only buy grenade launcher ammo, which is handy whenever I needed to buy flash rounds for that last guy to stun him so that we could go ahead and jam him with the serum or the anti-vax. I don't even know what we're stabbing him with. The story was kind of all over the place. It kept showing me flashbacks to former games. Of course, there are games that like I would have played, and I don't even know if they weren't games I never owned. So I always played with friends. Not even sure if we beat them or if I knew what was going on because we'd play at college. But that doesn't necessarily mean I was paying attention to the story. So the story did not draw me in. And to be honest, the game itself, I could go get Resident Evil 6 if I wanted a cheap game to play through. But I just don't think they're going to have... There's no need to have these unnecessarily clunky controls. And I'm pretty sure if I would go and try to play Resident Evil 4, I remember it moving very slow. And you couldn't like run. Maybe you could run, but it was like a time-consuming thing. Like they wanted it to be like a real-life human thing. But it's 2017. Gaming's been around for years. You're used to be... Like if you play other games, people are used to having unnecessarily strong powers. You're not used to being a human barely walking. Your guy's running like Zelda runs the whole way around the thing. Yeah, he gets tired if you hold in the sprint, but he's still moving at a relatively quick pace compared to Resident Evil and their clunky controls. And with the story, it's kind of like Assassin's Creed. Like I said, they just threw the story together. Did they know where they were going with it? Did they know there was going to be that many of these? No. Is there anything that's pulling me into the story? No. Do I want to go buy Resident Evil 6 after playing that game? Hell no. So I understand people like the games, and yeah, maybe if I was playing on a PC or something where I had a little bit more control over what my controls were going to be, it might have been more fun for me. But from a gaming standpoint, I'm tired of the zombie games. It's a genre that's kind of been blown out of proportion over the past, I don't know, decade or so. When did Walking Dead come out? That really pushed it to the end. Everything zombies, fads, people trying to beat zombies, coming up with their own like plans for the end of the world. And then I play Resident Evil, a game that I really liked on the GameCube. And then I get on the PS3 and it takes me years to beat because I can't get drawn into the game like I was for Resident Evil 4. So to me, Resident Evil 4 is the top Resident Evil game that I've ever played. And I've played most of them, like I said, at college at one time or another. Resident Evil 4 was the only one that made me want to actually play through and beat the game. 5, it could have taken or leave. It's kind of just like a glorified arcade box shooter at Dave & Buster's. I go in with a friend, and I'm just shooting through things, playing side by side. That's what it reminded me of, putting $20 on quarters and trying to beat the game and seeing how far we can make it. And with it being couch, right? It's not really couch co-op. I don't know if it is. You can play 2 players locally or not. But playing online with the co-op, it was kind of fun. I kind of wished it would have been better if it was on the PS4, which maybe Resident Evil 6 is. I don't know. I'm sure it is. Maybe I'll find it and get it real cheap because I'm sure there'll be a time where I'm like, I need a new game to play, and I'll see that sitting in a bargain bin for $5 or $10, like I saw with Assassin's Creed Unity to get me into that series. Like I said, I think I got down for $8 on one of those Amazon Prime days or whatever they're called. I'm sure I'll see Resident Evil sitting there, and I'll think, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and beat that. I do have Resident Evil 1 in my docket on the PS4, Not sure if I'm going to stream it. It's much slower than I remember. I remember like the ribbon saves. You only get a couple saves throughout the game. I remember parts of it, but not all of the game as I'm playing through. I played through a little bit of it. I might just jump through and beat it. I know it's a quicker game, so I might not end up streaming that one. But that might be one that I bring into the podcast before I get the PlayStation gear. I did check out the streaming. I don't know if I had talked about it at the beginning of this episode or not. But I did check out streaming with a USB camera on the PlayStation 4. And unfortunately, that's not compatible. So if I'm going to get into streaming, it's going to take me some while. I'm going to wait to see if I get the gear first. If I can get an actual capture device, then I might be able to stream. If not, I'm going to go ahead and I'll probably get the camera for the PlayStation 4 either way. It's just more convenient for me. The next thing I'll probably start to do when I stream is I'm looking to get for one, or what is that game I'm playing? Link Faces of Evil. I have 3 of those games. I'm not sure if the third one's actually going to ever work on my PC or not. But whenever I stream them, that's what I'm looking at, is trying to get some games on my computer that I'll stream a couple nights a week, 20, 30 minutes, then maybe build up to an hour. So I'm going to be playing retro games through Steam. I have, what's the Samurai? I have a Samurai 1. Is it Shadow Warrior? I think it's Shadow Warrior. I don't think it's Samurai Warrior. That's the Koei Japan Dynasty Warrior spinoff. But I think it's Shadow Warrior. I have that one, and I have the remake. I also have like the old Duke Nukem 3D, which I haven't. I usually play that with a friend who knows what he's doing, because I'm a Castle Wolfenstein guy, not so much into Duke Nukem. But I also have that for the PS3, the remake that they were waiting to make. I also have Duke Nukem, the 2D ones, but I'm almost beat that, so I probably won't end up streaming that. I want to kind of be consistent. Maybe my channel will be a retro shooting channel, plus with like the PSN, PlayStation Network free games. That's what I'm kind of looking at. If it's going to be a retro shooter channel, then that's what I'll play. But I'm not 100% sure, because I'm definitely out of practice. It will take me a while, but if I'm playing every day, I'm going to be spin up, and I'm going to get pretty good at these games pretty quickly. Because I do, like I said, I was brought up on these, and that's what it is. So, thank you for listening. I'll see you next week. Going to try to get next games that I'm half beaten, that I'm trying to finish off, are Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1 and Sigma 2. And I've actually been playing this series backwards. So I beat 3. I might have talked about it on the podcast. I'm playing through 2 now, which is the one where I'm not sure which difficulty I'm on. And then 1. And then I have a few racing games which I might dig into. If I get those played, I feel like I'll have a good base. See where the streaming thing is. Start to do like some retro streaming. I know I have the old Turok on there too, on my Mac. They don't have it for the Mac yet, the second one, but that's on PC, so I guess I could always boot into my boot camp version of Windows for that. But anyway, I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends to subscribe, and we'll keep expanding the channel. So, thanks.